Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today TV. I am Chetan Bhutani. Maruti Suzuki has reported a stellar set of numbers for the month of September. And of course, this is also ongoing because of the semiconductor shortage that the companies were facing last year. I am joined by Senior Executive Director Shashank Srivastava. Shashank, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about
Thank
the
you.
numbers. I usually ask about the good, bad, and ugly, but of course, there's no ugly looking like here right now. So tell us about the numbers.
Yeah, so September month for the industry was pretty good, I would say, because it was a record month in terms of dispatches. This was the highest ever dispatches in the industry at 355,000 plus, actually almost close to 356,000. And this is following the previous highest, which was in July of 342,000. So the quarter was great from a dispatch perspective, 1 million plus in the quarter, which is also for the first time ever in Indian auto industry's history. And H1 was 1.937 million, which bodes very well for the H2 as well. And it's estimated in the industry we could see almost 3.8 million cars sold in the fiscal year. So having said that, it was also reflected in Maruti Suzuki's numbers, 148,400 for domestic passenger vehicles against 63,100 of last year. But then remember, last year is probably not a good base to compare with because last year the September 1 was affected to a large extent by the semiconductor. In fact, the problem was at a peak in September of last year.
Right. Tell us about how the bookings and the dispatches and the deliveries are looking like for the Grand Vitara.
So Grand Vitara bookings crossed 60,000 numbers. We have also started the sale of the Grand Vitara. We announced the prices as well as the sale starting 26th of September, which was the first day of the Navratra. So last month, we could sell about 4,800 Grand Vitaras. And as we ramp up production, we hope to reduce the waiting period, which has built up because we have almost 60,000 pending bookings as well. So it's been a great response, I would say. And it is also, hopefully, it will give us a good volume and market share in the mid SUV segment, which had actually been pulling us down in terms of market share in the last few months.
Right. And what about Brezza? Brezza also is receiving an equally good response, or do you think there might be a conflict between Brezza and the Grand Vitara?
Brezza response also has been pretty good, I would say, 137,000 plus bookings so far. And remember, Brezza, we have been doing last year about 9,900 or 10,000 per month last year on an average. But the last 2 months, if you see, we have for the new Brezza, we have done 15,000 plus. In fact, Brezza is the number one SUV in the country today, based on the last few months of sale, and that is a very good thing because it does cement our leadership in the entry SUV segment, and hopefully in the mid SUV segment where we have introduced the Grand Vitara, we'll also we try to get probably, hopefully. Some sort of a leadership position there as well.
Of course. Tell us about the festive sales, overall sales for the festive season. How are you anticipating now? We are in the middle of the festive season. Do you anticipate good sales right now? And also, do you look at clearing the backlog quite soon?
So backlog clearance, of course, depends on the production. How much close it can be in terms of matching with the underlying demand pattern that we see. But so far, of course, we still see in terms of production levels and some models not being able to match with that pattern. So for us, for example, XL6 or Ertiga or Brezza or Vitara, Desire, Swift, they are still having a long waiting list and long pending bookings. Pending booking for Maruti Suzuki is actually 412,000 at the moment. On the other hand, some places where we have been able to reduce waiting periods have been in the 1 liter production, of which those vehicles have been pretty good, like in Wagon-R, in Alto, in Espresso, and in Celerio. So there seems to be some sort of a disbalance, you can say, between the waiting periods are quite different for different models. And that indicates that the semiconductor issue is not fully settled, maybe 94-95%. At the model level, we need to see how production proceeds for us to be able to predict how the October sales will be. But if we are able to do the production according to those underlying demand pattern, I see very good sales in October as well.
Right. Also, Shashank, what about the 6 airbag rule that the government has deferred? What does the company stand on that?
Yeah, so we have mentioned that for models which are existing models, you do require a lot of changes to be made in terms of engineering to make that implementation possible. And that's what this deferment therefore helps us with that extra time by which we can look at making the necessary modifications. So that is something which is very practical, and I think that's what government has seen and decided the way they did.
Shashank, last question from the marketing perspective in particular, I want to ask you. Celerio, Wagoner, Alto, Espresso are 4 to 5 top models that are hugely in demand because of the rural sales as far as that's concerned. So are you trying to get in good discounts, deals, or probably good lending schemes with tying up with banks for that? I know you've done that before as well and you keep continuing doing that, but in particular to boost sales further, is there any marketing plan to give good discounts or probably deals to the consumers?
So actually the discounts and the sales promotion obviously are a function of the mismatch between demand and supply. So in these cases of the models which you have mentioned, the volumes are very large. As I just mentioned, the top 3 models are actually hatches in the industry in last month. Number 1 was Alto, then Wagoner and Baleno. So and Maruti has a 70% plus market share in the hatches, and that means that's a very important and significant segment for Maruti Suzuki, and also from industry perspective, about 37% of the vehicles are still hatches. So it's a fairly large number. So we will continue to support the hatches. And as far as the discount levels are concerned, as I mentioned, it's just a function of demand and supply mismatch. But thankfully, the supply for these models have been pretty good in recent months. And therefore, yes, we have some really good offers during this month for October, including some of the finance options that we have given to consumers of this category of vehicles.
The commodity prices are still fine right now. Is there any price rise on the anvil?
So the price rise, actually, I'm not able to confirm either way, because it's a continuous exercise that we do to keep looking at our costs. Certainly the costs are very high, even though we have taken some price hikes in the last 2 years, the increase in material cost has been much higher. So we have not been able to absorb all the increased costs. So on terms of, in those terms, of course, we need to watch out, because while recently there have been some cooling off of the commodity prices, and therefore the pressures on that front seems to be a little lower. So we have to weigh that situation, and that's what we do continuously. At the moment, I'm not able to confirm whether we'll be able to increase prices or not.
Thank you, Shashank, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.